At the beginning of the auction, Richard whispered in distress to his wife, "Oh, Mary, can we allow it? You see, it is an honor, a reward, a testimonial to purity of character, and can we allow it? Hadn't I better get up? Oh, Mary, what ought we to do? What do you think we—" Halliday's voice. 15 I'm bid. 15 for the sack. 20. Oh, thanks. 30. Thanks again. 30. 30. Do I hear 40? 40 it is. Keep the ball rolling, gentlemen. Keep it rolling. 50. Thanks, noble Roman. Going at 50. 50. 70. 90. Splendid. 100. Pile it up. Pile it up. 120. 40. Just in time. 150. 200. Superb. Do I hear 2? Thanks. 250. It is another temptation, Edward. I'm all in a tremble, but oh, we've escaped one temptation. That ought to warn us. 6, do I hear 6? Thanks. 650, 6, 700. And yet, Edward, when you think nobody $800, hurrah, make it 9. Mr. Parsons, did I hear you say, thanks, 9? This noble sack of virgin lead going at only $900, gilding and all. Come, do I hear 1,000? Gratefully yours. Did you say some 11? A sack which is going to be the most celebrated in the whole Oh, Edward, beginning to sob, we are so poor. But do you think it's best? Do you think best? Edward fell, that is, he sat still. Sat with a conscience which was not satisfied, but which was overpowered by circumstances. Meantime, a stranger, who looked like an amateur detective gotten up as an impossible English earl, had been watching the evening's proceedings with manifest interest and with a contented expression in his face. He had been privately commenting to himself. He was now soliloquizing something like this: "None of the 18 are bidding. That is not satisfactory. I must change that. The dramatic unities require it. They must buy the sack. They must try to steal. They must pay a heavy price, too. Some of them are rich. And another thing, when I make a mistake in Hadleyburg nature, the man that puts that error upon me is entitled to a high honorarium, and someone must pay. This poor old Richards has brought my judgment to shame. He's an honest man. I don't understand it, but I acknowledge it. Yes, he saw my deuces, and with a straight flush, and by rights the pot is his, and it shall be a jackpot, too, if I can manage it. He disappoints me, but let that pass. He was watching the bidding at 1,000. The market broke. The prices tumbled swiftly. He waited and still watched. One competitor dropped out, then another, then another. He put in a bid or two now, and when the bid had sunk to $10, he added a 5. Someone raised him a 3. He waited a moment, then flung in a $50 jump, and the sack was his at $1,282. The house broke out in cheers, then stopped, for he was on his feet and lifted his hands. He began to speak. I desire to say a word and ask a favor. I'm a speculator in rarities, and I have dealings with persons interested in numismatics all over the world. I can make a profit on this purchase just as it stands, but there is a way, if I can get your approval, whereby I can make every one of these leaden $20 gold pieces worth its face in gold, and perhaps more. Grant me that approval, and I will give part of my gains to your Mr. Richards, whose invulnerable probity you have just so justly and so cordially recognized tonight. His share shall be $10,000, and I will hand him the money tomorrow." Great applause from the house, but for the invulnerable probity made the Richardses blush prettily. However, it went for modesty and did no harm. If you will pass my proposition by a good majority, I would like a 2/3 vote. I will regard that as the town's consent, and that is all I ask. Rarities are always helped by any device which will rouse curiosity and compel remark. Now, if I may have your permission to stamp upon the faces of each of those ostensible coins the names of the 18 gentlemen who, 9/10 of the audience were on its feet in a moment, dog and all, and the proposition was carried with a whirlwind of approving applause and laughter. They sat down, and all the symbols except Dr. Clay Harkness got up, violently protesting against this proposed outrage, and threatened to— "I beg you not to threaten me," said the stranger calmly. "You know my legal rights. I'm not accustomed to being frightened at bluster." Applause. He sat down. Dr. Harkness saw an opportunity there. He is one of the two very rich men of the place, and Pinkerton was the other. Harkness was proprietor of a mint, that is to say, a popular patent medicine. He was running for legislature on one ticket and Pinkerton on the other. It was a close race and a hot one, and getting hotter every day. Both had strong appetites for money, and each one had bought a large tract of land with a purpose. There was going to be a new railway, and each wanted to be in the legislature and help locate the route to his own advantage. A single voice might make the decision, and with it 2 or 3 fortunes. The stake was large, and Harkness was a daring speculator. He was sitting close to the stranger. He leaned over while one or another of the symbols was entertaining the house with protests and appeals, and asked in a whisper, "What is your price for the sack?" $40,000. "I'll give you 20. No. 25. No. Say 30. The price is $40,000, not a penny less." "All right, I'll give it. I will come to the hotel at 10 in the morning, and I don't want it known. We'll see you privately." "Very good." Then the stranger got up and said to the house, "I find it late. The speeches of these gentlemen are not without merit, not without interest, not without grace. Yet if I may be excused, I will take my leave. I thank you for the great favor which you have shown me in granting my petition. I ask the chair to keep the sack for me until tomorrow, and to hand these 3 $500 notes to Mr. Richards." They were passed up to the chair. "At 9 I will call for the sack, and at 11 will deliver the rest of the 10,000 to Mr. Richards in person at his home. Good night." Then he slipped out and left the audience, making a vast noise, which was composed of a mixture of cheers of the Mikado song, dog disapproval, and the chant, "You are far from being a bad man. Amen."